UFL. It's time for the UFL show with me, UFL Jim. Let's go!
Yeah, get that! You win it! Oh,
I have a nice, interesting interview with one Christian Herman, a very completely normal guy who's not edgy in the slightest. We have my UFL power rankings, my Week 8 recap, and what I would like to see coming up in Week 9. Let's begin. The playoffs are set, folks. We have the Birmingham Stallions taking on the Michigan Panthers in the USFL division, and we have the San Antonio Brahmas taking on the St. Louis Battlehawks in the XFL division. No matter what, the USFL division is set. It will be in Birmingham. Michigan can play for first place in the division if they want. It's really just more of a title. I think it might boost their morale. Who knows? But the game will be in Birmingham. I am excited. I'm hype. I'm a little, teensy bit worried that now the rest of the games are quote-unquote meaningless. I mean, the XFL ones definitely aren't because the game still could be held in either San Antonio or St. Louis, but it's fine. They will still be amazing. They will still be entertaining. I'm still looking forward to them. The games will still be beautiful UFL action. Other takeaways from Week 8, I believe the Panthers are peaking at the right time. They're one of the teams that I have kind of rising up. They've been getting better week in, week out for the last few weeks now. I like where they're at right now. St. Louis, I am worried about because of all the injuries and where they're at. But some things that have kind of gone on give me a little bit of hope that one, A.J. McCarron might be back for the playoffs. I'm excited. For the Brahmas, maybe you get Chase Garbers back, which would be huge. Even a hobbled Chase Garbers, I think, would be a better option than what they have right now. And for Birmingham, you're just the cream of the crop. Keep doing what you're doing. Love you guys. Mwah, kisses. Mwah, kisses to all my horse people out there. Also, every game entertaining as hell for Week 8. Everything was super close. Everything was extremely competitive. Everything was a riot. Loved it. Week 8, mwah, kisses for me. Big 6 kisses out of 17. That's actually a good rating if you know the kiss scale. That moves us to the UFL Power Rankings brought to you by UFL Gym and all of the gyms across the Gymiverse. At number 8, we have the Memphis Showboats. Despicable. That's the best word that describes what Memphis has trotted out on the field week in and week out. Despicable. Disgusting. Deplorable. Deforming. This is a deformed level of football that they are performing right now. Their defense is bad. Their offensive line is bad. They really don't have a lot of shining spots, and they are your bottom team in the UFL. At number 7, it's the Arlington Renegades. They still can't. I don't get this team, man. I don't understand the Renegades. They look so good for a good chunk of the game and still find ways to lose. They are one of the best losers I've seen in almost any league in any sport. They're a top primo loser, and that's what places them at the 7th spot. At number 6, I have the Houston Roughnecks. Yes, maybe they look worse than the Renegades right now, but they did beat the Renegades head up, and they put on a hell of a show against the Birmingham Stallions. Couldn't get a win in either matchup, and this is the Birmingham Stallions kryptonite we're talking about here in Houston. Maybe the name change kind of altered that a little bit, so maybe it got rid of that magic that the Gamblers had back in the USFL. So maybe that's what done it, and that's what lands the Houston Roughnecks here at the 6th spot. At number 5, it's the DC Defenders, the most mid team on the planet. They were your benchmark team. If you were a playoff team, you could beat the DC Defenders. Sorry, Brahmas, that one time. You're still good. You beat them once. And if you were a bad team, you basically always lost the Defenders. Like the Roughnecks couldn't beat them, Renegades couldn't beat them, Showboats couldn't beat them, and that they are your mid team. At number 4, it's the San Antonio Brahmas. Looking right now, they look closer to the DC Defenders in skill than every other playoff team at the moment. Maybe something can change. That defense is elite, but the offensive showing they've had, aside from the Renegades game, and take that with a grain of salt because the Renegades defense is abhorrent, they have looked bad offensively, just straight up bad. Quentin Dormady, I thought this guy was going to be great. I thought he was going to be a fantastic quarterback in this league. He looks terrible for a good chunk of this season, and they need to change something if they want to go anywhere in this playoffs. At number 3, I have the Michigan Panthers on the rise. I don't like the whole dual quarterback thing between Perkins and Lewerke. I think they should just go with Bryce Perkins, but that defense will carry them. The offense has looked better week in and week out. This team is on the rise, and I buy stock right now. Buy in the Michigan Panthers. At number 2, the St. Louis Battlehawks. What's more to say about the Battlehawks? They are easily, in my opinion, the second best looking team in this league. And they proved it when they took on the Birmingham Stallions and played a hell of a game. This Battlehawks team, especially if they get A.J. McCarron back. Without him, maybe knock him down a peg or two. But for now, the St. Louis Battlehawks firmly in the 2 spot. At number 1, it's the King of Spring. It's the fucking horsecock lords themselves. Fucking everyone else below them. It's the Birmingham Stallions. They will not be unseated right now. This team is on top and will continue to stay on top until I don't know. Alrighty, folks, that brings us to the segment portion of the show. This week we landed on the wheel. So what does the wheel pertain? And I'm going to explain it to you. Don't worry about that. Don't you worry. So I have a wheel right here. It has a bunch of different things on it. I'm going to spin that wheel. And what happens will affect the show going forward for the rest of this episode. I have Naked Time, Old Timey, Black and White, New Dimension, Mukbang ASMR, TG Takeover, AI, Pick a Gym, and Ritual. Let's see what we get. Okay, the rest of this episode is in black and white. Enjoy, folks. Before we get to the interview, there's a couple questions I would like to ask you as an audience out there. What are some things you're excited to see? Potentially for teams who are eliminated from the playoffs. I'd like to see what everyone's looking forward to seeing in like the Renegades, in the Roughnecks, in the Showboats, and the Defenders. I'm excited to potentially see some new offensive schemes, coaches trying something new, maybe playing with personnel a little bit to show the fan base what they've got coming back next year. I'm excited to see what some coaches might draw up. That's something that kind of tickles my fancy a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You just put it, you take that, you put it right here. Is the MVP race locked up? Is it just Adrian Martinez? Do we already know? What about Coach of the Year? You could give it to Skip Holtz, but he's basically been doing it every year. And I feel like when coaches do this kind of thing year in and year out, they kind of get excluded from Coach of the Year vibes. Personally, I think Mike Nolan, for what he's done for the Michigan Panthers, a program, I call it a program because, I like saying the word program, but an organization who for the last 2 years has been near the bottom of the USFL. They have been historically awful. Year 1, terrible. Year 2, improvement. Not good, but improvement. Year 3, straight up fucking good. They are a capital G good team. Mike Nolan should get some credit for that. And will we get an official drink of the UFL? And I know some people are saying Zoa this, Zoa that. No, I'm talking about a real beverage. The XFL in 2020 had a real beverage in Bud Light Seltzer. Just ask XFL Jim. Okay? Now, it's time for the interview. All right, folks, it's time to introduce you to one Christian Herman. Hey! All right, Christian, the name of the game is you answer my questions, I ask you the questions, and we get the fuck out of here, okay? Are you ready, man? Are you ready? Question number 1. What would you do to combat the potential viewer decline now that the playoffs are set in stone?
Oh gosh. I would honestly take a look into Judaism. I've heard that it's harder for men to convert because if you've already been circumcised, they have to revert the circumcision. So if you look at conversion to Judaism rates, women will convert at a much higher rate, whereas men do not want to totally get a circumcision undone. Or get made fun of. I mean, high school's over, but you don't want to get called the guy with the hooded ninja. Honestly, I mean, they're four big markets. I feel like it can be tough. I mean, maybe this is where the refs end up giving play calls to the worst squads. Like, I do like the Renegades and the points this week as an example. So maybe it's just as simple as having like a NBA Finals Kings, the refs are taking money kind of thing to make it closer. I feel like that's probably the best way I can sum that
up. Okay. Would you rather be lost in the woods with a UFL coach or a UFL starting quarterback?
I feel like I gotta go Stoops here. I feel like Stoops is actually like an extra on Lost. Like he totally could have been Locke. So I am probably going with coaches because I think most of the time every coach, and forgive me, I might be stealing Chase. This might have been his tweet. Pretty much every coach in college football is an absolute sociopath. And I think it also extends to spring football and the NFL. And I feel like whenever your back's against the wall and you absolutely need to live, I'm probably going to have to go with the sociopath. I feel like they have, a lot of wherewithal. They have the street smarts. Shout out to my quarterback, Luis Perez. Maybe if there was Wi-Fi on the island, we could get AJ McCarron to maybe do an OnlyFans. And then potentially we would get money that way, like the Hunger Games. But I'm probably going to go Stoopsy based on the fact that every coach from grade school to spring football is an absolute sociopath.
I like that. I was going to mention, it seems like at any level a coach is basically a sociopath to some extent.
You kind of have to be. I think in order to want to lead men, in order to want to like be put in charge and lead a group of men, I think you do have to be like a fucking psychopath. The Leafs just hired a new coach and everybody's happy because he uses the F word a ton and he's scary. It's like sometimes you need piss and vinegar, and Bob Stoops is going to bring piss and vinegar. Next
question. What team logo would make the best tattoo?
Oh, man. Let me even, because I'm biased. I'm going to say the Renegades, but if I take a good look at these logos here, the Showboats aren't that bad. If I'm worried about strictly getting pussy, if I'm worried about like strictly banging beaver, I'm probably going Battlehawks. You got the sword. You could say that your uncle made Highlander. That would be fucking awesome. Maybe you met, who's the guy that does Mr. Krabs, and he's in Shawshank Redemption. Fuck.
Clancy Brown.
Clancy fucking Brown. You can say that you met Clancy fucking Brown. Thank you, Jim. So if I'm trying to court a woman, I would say the Battlehawks based on masculinity. If I was going for more Jimmy Buffett, I traveled the globe off my dad's money, and I learned a lot about empathy because I took mushrooms. I'm going the Showboats, but if I just had to get something on my ass that maybe nobody saw, I think for meme's sake, I would have to go with my team, the Renegades. I think in last place is probably the Gamblers. I think, or not the why are the Gamblers even on here? No, I'm talking about the Roughnecks. I don't know why they have the Gamblers fucking logo here, but the Roughnecks will be last for me because I can't stand the Softnecks.
All right. Ramp it up now. 32-yard line, 3rd and 18 on the opponent's 32-yard line, mind you. What's the play call?
Honestly, I think you pretty much have to fucking maybe 4 verts and just toss it up to any of the St. Louis Battlehawks receivers. I feel like right now Hakeem Butler is like prime Terrell Owens or like modern day AJ Brown. And so I think I would just try to draw a play up like John Gruden did for Keyshawn Johnson a lot as a Bucs coach, where it'd be like Keyshawn would just be like, I need the fucking ball. Gruden had like a specific playlist of like, here is everything that I'm going to do for specifically Keyshawn. I think I would just adjust for Hakeem Butler. I would throw one up, get a contested catch, and hope that he doesn't injure himself on the way down.
Final question. There are a lot of UFL teams out there, and by a lot, I mean 8. There are also many, many cigarette brands. I would like you to compare each UFL team to a cigarette brand. There are wrong answers, mind you.
This is really great. I feel like you're going to have to go in the trenches. You're going to have to, as much as the Stallions defense has done this year, I think they deserve Marlboro Reds. I feel like Marlboro Reds are a feared brand. They're a known brand. And if you smoke Marlboro Reds, you've probably seen a couple things. You might know who Anthony Bourdain is. I respect you endlessly. Now, I think I would have to give the Battlehawks. I've never been to St. Louis. I have heard it's a bit of a dump, but that could be wrong. I think I'm going to give because the Battlehawks give me a little bit of hipster vibes. I'm going to give them an American Spirit. American Spirit might be the healthiest cigarette. I think people have a lot of respect for the American Spirit cigarette, and obviously St. Louis numbers, they do really, really well. They have such a large fan base. The Panthers. I am going to give the Panthers, because I do respect them and I like their team, I am going to have to give them, I think I'll give them menthols. I think I'll give them Newport menthols. I mean, it's Michigan. We know what folks in Detroit are probably smoking. There's probably 1,000 Newport ads all over the downtown strip right now. So I'm going to generalize, and I'm going to say that the Michigan Panthers are a Newport. And remind me of the 4th team.
You said Stallions, Battlehawks, Panthers, and it's the Brahmas.
Okay. Okay. We have the Rocks' Prodigal Son. So now I'm going to try to think what is a really, really, I've already named so many tough cigarettes, but now I'm going to try to think the Rocks' Prodigal Son, something that he would brag about, something that is like very, very strong-minded. I mean, Salem's are pretty underrated, but I don't think people smoke those that often. And I think the Rock is way too box office for me to say Salem's. People watching are probably like, if he goes Salem's, it's because he probably fucking ran out of things to say. You might be correct. Since the Rock is so fucking cool, I am going to have to go with Camels. Every time I see an old video of, I don't know, is it Mr. Camel?
Smoking Joe Camel.
Smoking Joe Camel. Anytime I see a vintage t-shirt reselling for $200 or whatever he's doing, he's in a 6-stick shift. He reminds me of when The Rock was getting just like absolute white hot in the WWF. So I will reserve the Camels for them, and then I'm going to give the blue Pall Malls to the Renegades just as a consolation prize.
All right, Christian, that'll do it for this episode. Anything you want to leave the people with?
I'd like to bring to light the top 100 songs of all time, Apple Music, causing quite a bit of buzz online. I'd like to note that Pet Sounds is at 20 and one of the most influential pop albums of all time. Brian Wilson, an absolute genius. The Beach Boys being the only direct competition to the Beatles. Clearly a top 5 album of all time, and was treated as such on the Rolling Stones top 500 albums of all time. The 2 times they released that list, it was number 2 twice. They could have kept the meme going. They could have put Pet Sounds at 2, but they put it at 20. They put it behind a Taylor Swift album. They put it behind a Radiohead album, and that really pisses me off. But I will say take the Renegades and the points this weekend. I am biased, but I think they are due. And thank you for having me, Jim. I greatly appreciate sweating it out through these many layers of clothes.
Smoke bomb! And with that, folks, I leave you with this. As the season closes in on the last couple of weeks, the playoffs are solidified. They are in stone. Can the league maintain interest as we delve deeper into summer and the games become somewhat, to some would say, less important? I posit to you, those who would say such slanderous things, there's no such thing as an unimportant UFL game. Every game in the United Football League matters more than anything else, anywhere, at any point, in any time. But it's something to posit, some say. Some say. Again, we look into the future. Week 9 approaches. Only 2 weeks left of the regular season. Only 2 weeks left for many, many great players. Let's hold on to these moments as not just fans of individual teams, but as fans of the UFL. This is the time where we come together and celebrate our glorious league. May we stand united. United for football. United for each other. United for America. This is the UFL show with UFL Jim. I'm UFL Jim. I love you guys. I'll see you next time. To the fucking moon.